As the debate surrounding immigration policies continues, the president's in-laws became U.S. citizens.
On August 9th, Melania Trump's parents took the oath of citizenship. Their attorney, Michael Wilds, joins us now via Skype. He is also the author of the book Safe Haven in America, Battles to Open the Golden Door. Great to have you here.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me both.
So there has been a lot of attention paid to the process by which Melania's parents have become citizens, because they went through the immigration process that the president somewhat derisively terms chain migration. Talk to us about that tension.
Well, there is a political tension, but there's been a bedrock of American immigration law and policy allowing families to reunify. What's known as chain migration in the derogatory is actually a beautiful theory and philosophy that families will actually work harder and love more and do more for the United States if they're able to come together. So citizens can petition for other relatives. And unlike the president's contention that uncles and aunts and nieces and 32 people can evolve, it's just not the case. As in Mrs. Trump's case, it took years for her to become an American citizen, then years for her to petition for her family. And they went through the process and passing all the American citizenship questions and everything, just like any other person would go forward. So it was a privilege to actually see this process through. They were treated like no other different person. And it's just the politics of the day, unfortunately. The dialogue has deteriorated on immigration. And it's our job as lawyers who toil in the field, and I'm a second-generation immigration lawyer, to make sure that the government is pointed in the right direction when it comes to this.
Michael, what are the real the outer extent of who can be sponsored in terms of relative? Is it just sons and daughters and parents and spouses? I mean, where does that stop and start? And then also, if you fall within what would be, as you say, family reunification guidelines, why would somebody be denied? Or is anyone denied unless they have a criminal history or something like that, who falls within that category?
So to answer the first question, immediate relatives generally are permitted to be sponsored in a lawful process. And that means parents and children. It doesn't allow for siblings so easily, because siblings will take you at least 10 or 15 years, depending on the quotas coming from different countries. So there's both a qualitative and a quantitative quota. You should know that there's both a family ledger that we're discussing now, and then there's a business ledger as how people can travail into the United States. And I happen to teach a class at the Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law on business immigration law. To answer your second question, there are lots of ways people can fall out of step. First of all, there's a very thorough vetting system, unlike what's being projected now in the media. The truth is that a person cannot travail this process unless they are clean as a whistle. We have a puritanical immigration law and policy that doesn't allow people who have crimes involving moral turpitude. This is a very open-ended term, but a person who has excessive driving without, driving while intoxicated, or committed domestic violence, or did credit card fraud and such like that, will not be able to travail these waters. And the bottom line is that the process, when a client comes to our office, generally evolves on a mix. There are people also who can qualify for status based on investments and so forth. So we're always looking to see who, in the constellation of a family's existence, can sponsor somebody, and if not, if there's a business or an investment side of the ledger, to bring people in lawfully to the United States.
Michael, the president has tweeted on this subject, as he has tweeted about most things. He said, chain migration must end now. Some people come in and they bring their whole family with them, who can be truly evil, not acceptable. That's in all caps. And some have raised the fact that the president's animus towards immigrants and undocumented immigrants seems to be aimed mostly south of the border. What groups or what countries benefit most from family reunification?
Very interesting question. And first of all, when he talks about evil, we all have mother-in-laws, right? All kidding aside, there's always somebody in the family that somebody doesn't want to have here. To the president's
credit, I'm going to say no comment on that one.
Yeah, to the president's credit, he actually didn't stop his mother-in-law from coming to the United States. Nobody had a sense of humor last week for me to interject that. But the truth is that the president, I think, is well inclined when he's trying to increase the vetting procedures to make sure that we stop people that were not intended to come here. The problem is a fewfold. Number one, we're not doing anything to protect ourselves from people who radicalize after they get here. So the person who came in on the lottery years ago and then created a dastardly terrorist attack on the West Side Highway radicalized after he got the lottery, and yet the president seems very adamant about eliminating the lottery system. Mind you, the lottery system is a system that we have here because we have a qualitative and a quantitative quota, and we want to make sure that we get a potpourri of individuals throughout the world. And I dare say that if the president figured out that this person came to America based on what he would consider chain migration, a marriage case or something else like that, would he then prevent Marines and U.S. citizens from then marrying foreign nationals that they fall in love with? So the real question that underscores the issue here is, where are we going and what is it that we're intending on doing? Our founding fathers and mothers never stopped fighting. They fought pirates in the high seas, but they never really stopped immigration. And just because ISIS and Al-Qaeda and everything was a threat to our nation's homeland does not mean that we should stop the entrepreneurial spirit and the engine that immigration is. We have scores, thousands upon thousands of foreign students, and I lecture frequently to a lot of the schools, that try to onboard into the workforce, but there's a fear that they're going to displace American laborers, and then we compete against them internationally. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot, and the only person that seems to get anything out of this are the schools who make tuition. Listen, unless
Michael, can I ask you one quick question before we go? I'm just wondering,
of
assuming people pass a criminal background check and that there are no red flags, why not just let everybody in?
Well, we have to have some kind of order. I think when it comes to America as a safe haven, when it comes to people, whether it's in our northern or southern border who are seeking flight for their own lives, we should let people in more generously. We have a biblical sense of hospitality, and we're turning our back on the crisis.
Well, we let in a million. I mean, there are
pond.
a million people a year become either citizens, permanent residents, green card holders. Why not 10 million?
We could afford to do more when it comes to political asylum. Right now, this president is shutting America's door, and it should be hinged open to help those in need. Now, I'm not being facetious here, and I am a Democrat, and I'm a very proud one. But the truth is that when it comes to our entrepreneurial needs, when it comes to hospitality, there are more beds in the hospitality corridor that need immigrant labor. There are more blueberries that have to be picked in Georgia. And yes, we should be more robust. We should be responsive
so 10 million
to the
sounds
employers.
Good.
No, I'm not going to say about numbers. We need to be responsive to the employer needs.
All right, we got to leave it there for now.
Fewer refugees brought in under this administration, that we know for a fact, while there's a massive refugee crisis going on in the world. So I think we could figure out a balance of those things.
And not only that, we have scores of employers, particularly in the restaurant industry, in the fashion model industry, I can name a few others, where they cannot get their staff, they cannot get their talent in.
Okay, so Michael, I keep hearing the same thing, which is there's no reason for limitations if people aren't actually a national security threat. So we might as well just let everybody in. I don't see where
I think the extremes in politics and the extremes on immigration are really just not practical and wrong. You can't shut the doors and you can't leave them wide open. You have to come up with something that's calibrated down the middle. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I'm well versed on the vetting and the kind of vulnerability that we have. We have students, clerics, diplomats without the right status floating here. We're debating a topic, putting up walls and trying to scare Americans that foreigners with accents are going to put us in peril when we have 12 million people here already without status. What kind of effective immigration system do we have by building a wall and then looping in 12 million people to continue walking here unfettered? 300 immigration judges, my guys. 300 immigration judges, and you have 12 million people here. Does that sound like a system that's set up methodically? No.
No, absolutely not.
we got to leave it there, Michael.
I'll agree on that one.
Appreciate
Michael.
your time on this one. Thank you so much for joining us.
I really
My pleasure
appreciate it
as well. Thank you.